Yes, I am Beth Cease. I am a certified manifestation coach, and we're going to talk about triggers today. And how are we being aware of our triggers? That's seems to be a lot of the common questions that I get in with manifestation is not only the process of manifesting our desires, but how we can get into that flow of knowing that we are who we are. And a lot of that has to do with recognizing our triggers. And this is interesting because this week I had a potential buyer come and look at a puppy, and she is going to buy the puppy, but she come with her dog to see how they would interact. And I I knew there would not be a problem with this, but it was interesting to watch the triggers in the animals and to pinpoint, oh, yes, she is a little bit stressed because her tail is tucked and she's, nipping back. The puppy was a little bit fearful of the adult dog when she first met her. So, our triggers can be so subtle that we don't even realize they're triggers. So that instance with the puppy interaction, what you do with an animal is you gradually introduce them to new things. And that's what we did. We gradually introduced this puppy to this adult dog. And the adult dog was very curious and she was very accepting of the puppy, but the puppy was a little bit fearful because of the size difference. And so taking that into consideration, went slow. And I think that has a lot to do with our manifestations. Sometimes we think that we know how to do it. Why isn't it happening? We don't realize that it's a process. And sometimes we're missing things. And that's where a coach comes in, or a community. And that's what you do get with the school community. Not only the community here, but with Scott Haug's school community, you get a lot of feedback on anything that you're dealing with, and everyone there is very helpful and encouraging. It's just been a very enlightening experience for me, so it's very joyful for me to be able to share that with people. So some of the things that we talk about with triggers, you might be feeling frustrated that you seem to be working many hours and seems like nothing is being accomplished, or you might be in a relationship where you are constantly feeling unappreciated, or what's the word? I'm insignificant is another word that would maybe be a feeling word. And when you get into those feelings, I want you to be aware, first off, is what's putting you in that feeling. I think a good example of this is, say, for instance, if I'm a mother, so if I tell my child to do something and they sit silently and act like they don't hear me, that trigger could maybe be, I'm getting frustrated because they're not hearing me. And I need to reflect on that. It's like, well, did I go through something in my childhood where I had those same feelings where I wasn't being heard? And it's not so much that the child isn't listening to me, but it's how am I reacting to that child not listening to me? And that is a trigger. If I am getting flustered or frustrated or angry, or any of those things, that's a reflection on me and what I've dealt with. And that is one of the key areas to manifesting, is healing. We not only need to have the connection with God, source, higher power, higher mind, whatever you want to call it. We also need to have that awareness and know that there's some trauma there to heal. And that again is just the awareness part of it is a start. But what you do about the awareness part of it is your action. So say, for instance, this puppy, getting back to the puppy story, she had her tail tucked and she was backing in the corner. We were outside, so she was backing up against the lady's legs to get away from this adult dog. So what I did at that moment is I intervened. I said, "Come here," and then I picked her up and held her, and I put her in a safe place. And what you will relate to this to yourself is that, okay, you're triggered by something. I want to go and be in a quiet spot where I can, and maybe we aren't able to do this at the present time that we're triggered, and that's fine, but you want to come back to that thought. Okay, this afternoon I was triggered by this. Where is that coming from? And I want you to connect with source, connect with God, connect with your higher power. And how you do that is be still. Just be still and reflect on being joy, being love, being everything you desire. Reflect on connecting with that. To me, God is my higher power, and within God there is all joy, all beauty, all love. There's never the opposite of that. So that's the realm I'm in when I am in reflecting and in flow with God. So being in that flow, you will hear things come into your mind, and you may not experience this the first time you do it. But I think through time, especially with myself, I've learned that that's how I can listen into my intuition, that higher source is giving me those thoughts and how to deal with my triggers. And that has helped me tremendously. Just connecting with source, but then being aware of, why those triggers are coming up, connecting with a time maybe in childhood where you felt that way. That's probably the most familiar time when we go through something. And I think I mentioned this before, is it could be as simple as, someone scaring you, and you felt like you were afraid to do something because you were scared as a little child, and that just has stuck with you. It's not something that is, you don't think it's very traumatizing, but it's holding you back from getting into that flow and getting out of that cycle of frustration or that cycle of repetitiveness that you want to get into something higher. You have to go through that trigger emotion and evaluate it, and you will come out with ideas and ways that you can deal with that frustration and get out of it permanently. And sometimes this is an ongoing trigger that a person might have. Sometimes it is a one-time trigger where I've never experienced that before. What is that coming from? And, just going to source or God or your higher power, and just really meditating and thinking and clearing your mind from, I think that is the hardest part, is letting go of everything and just listening. just being there with yourself and with that love and with that beauty. And sometimes it helps me to put on earbuds and listen to some calming music like we had at the beginning of this Zoom, just to get into that frame of mind where I'm not thinking about all the busy stuff that I need to do today. I'm not thinking about a situation that happened this morning that I have to deal with later. I'm not thinking about all that busy stuff. I'm clearing my mind and getting into that space of connection with God. So some of the other triggers that could come up is failure to get things done. Maybe you're in a mode where you don't have the motivation to do something. And I can relate to this because a lot of times I will fall back on things that I know how to do or things that are comfortable for me to do. And one of those things is my dress. I'm comfortable in a t-shirt and a ball cap because that's what I wear when I work puppies, when I'm walking them, when I'm training them. And I was going to come into this Zoom just as I am. And I thought, you know what? Today, I'm going to take my ball cap off. I'm going to put on a nice blouse. I'm going to freshen up. I'm going to give me my space. It took some effort for me to do this because I am a spontaneous person. I feel like I am a creative person and I do things on whims a lot of times because of the sheer enjoyment that it gives me. But I also know that I don't get as much accomplished that I want to do or my desired self wants to be when I don't set schedules and set guidelines and get out of my comfort zone. So that could be a trigger too for you where you're hesitant to change. I've done this forever and works just fine and I don't want to change. You can have that attitude where, okay, then you must be in pure joy with your life. And you think back and it's like, no, I'm not making the income I want, or I'm not happy with the people in my life. You really have to evaluate where you're at and be honest with yourself. And that is another thing people fall back to is routines. And that routine sometimes is good. Sometimes it's not so good. And sometimes it just needs a little spicing up. I would say for the most part, my routine of the day is set by what is dictated to me with the dogs. But the free time that I have in between those spots, I feel like I personally can be doing more. Sometimes when I'm marketing and being creative I used to do photography. So I love taking pictures. My first love was nature photography. And then I went into portraits and had a studio and did family portraits and weddings and people portraits. And now I do dog portraits because that's what I am doing. I'm a dog breeder, so I'm doing a lot of puppy pictures and, thinking about, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, and preparing for this and that. And that's all fun and creative. But I find myself doing more and more of that and not enough of the actual talking to people about purchasing my puppies. So I think there again, it's you're creative, but you also have to have diligence in certain areas so that you can be more creative during the time that you are creative. Because I've been in situations where I have worked all night long. I mean, I don't do that now, but I have years ago. I remember when I was pregnant with our third child. He was born, I think, 14 years after our daughter. So there's a big space in there. And I was doing web design at that time, and I would stay up late at night working, and I'd be nursing him and working. And, I've been there, I've done that. And I felt like I was spinning my wheels. And for what? I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I was a nurturing mother, yes, and I fulfilled all my motherly needs and duties with the children. The older children were in high school, so they were on their own practically, and I had this baby and starting a new business. And yeah, I do remember that, and that was one of the hardest times that I had. A lot of people think that, oh, you had twins like 6 years later. Wasn't that difficult? Like, that was not as difficult as that time when I uh, worked, and still did the motherly thing. And I just wasn't in alignment. And I remember those times. And that's a good refresher too. If you have times in your life where you've done this, you've done that, and you know that you don't want to go back to that. And that's when I was introduced with Scott's program, is that I was making that shift gradually through the years. But that's when it really, really hit that this is my path. This is how I can become who I am purposely here on earth to be, is fulfilling that dream of mine and being in my higher state, thinking from the higher mind, just connecting with God and knowing that this is it. And that's part of manifestation, is getting into that. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And it does take, it does take time. Where there, I think we talked about impatience last week. A lot of people have, they get frustrated. Things aren't working for them. It's like that's your first clue that you have a trigger, that you are, you don't have the belief. Your trigger is that you don't believe in yourself. So the trigger there is to go inside and find out when you felt that way before. And there is a process to the healing. We're not going to go into that on a Zoom call. It's more of a one-on-one coaching technique, but there is a process to that healing, and then getting rid of that trigger forever. And then there's subtle things that you'll notice will come up, and you'll say, I would say years ago, that comment that somebody had made would have made me felt like this, but I don't feel that. Okay. That's when you're healed, when that trigger, when you don't feel that the way you did years ago. And triggers can be a happy thing too. So say, for instance, if you're going through an exciting time, I feel this way every time I'm on a phone call with someone, and they're asking about puppies, and they're commenting on wanting to bring a puppy into their family, and they're telling me more about how their family lives and their environment, and I get this all happy feeling like, oh yes, well, let's find you the right puppy. Am I thinking right then and there that I can have the sale? Not necessarily. It's just that feeling of I'm able to help them. I'm able to guide them into picking the right puppy, whether that's with me or with someone else. That's not up to me to decide. And I think that letting go there is really important to manifestation too. And used to be years ago when I would be talking to people, I would be so disappointed when they didn't purchase. I just feel like, well, what could have I said differently? What could have I done differently? And I didn't realize that it's out of my control. I am just here to express to people how I can help them. And it's God's decision, or the higher power or source or your higher mind's decision, if that's all going to come together and happen. And that is a hard one too, the letting go. Letting go of the control, and to know that there are people out there that do want to purchase my puppies, and there are people out there that do not, and that's okay. I'll just be here and be a light to those, to everyone, regardless. And God will bring the right people in, the higher source, the universe. It's all in your perspective of how you view the world, how you view yourself, and how you view other people. You can be triggered by reactions from other people, and that's a very, very basic way of realizing that you do have trauma locked inside of you. And I just say trauma because it's just a common word, but I would say that's a very good clue that you have something holding you back, locked inside of you. We won't call it trauma necessarily, but something's there holding you back from receiving what you desire. So I hope that has helped with some of the questions on triggers, maybe giving you some viewpoints of how to be aware of triggers and how to start dealing with those triggers by connecting with source, and then following through with your desires. Really, really sit down every day and journal what your thoughts are on where you want to be, what you want to experience, who you want in your life. This is not necessarily is always an income. It can be relationships. It can be your health. Just listening to someone earlier on, how to manifest better health. And her comment also was the connection to God, the connection to higher power, connection to source is the ultimate thing you need. You need to establish that. You need to know that you need to know how to do that. And there again, that's where coaching comes into play. I tell people prayer is a word that is often loosely given to people. Will pray about it. Well, what if you don't really know how to pray? There again, help. It's finding that help, finding that grounding, that the teaching that you relate to, and being vulnerable, allowing yourself to open up, because that is what holds a lot of people back from becoming who they are put on this earth to be, is is that closed mind, that closed perception of, well, I've done it this way all these years, I'm not changing. That is what holds people back, is that perception that change is hard, and change is not hard. Change can be easy if you're understanding what's coming about with your change. You might have circumstances or situations that you think that are really hard and put you in a depressed mode right now, but there's ways to change that with help and guidance. And again, I can't stress enough the Prosperity Magnet Group for, what is it, $22 a month now? I think Scott has just lowered his price for a short time here. So with that, you can get in and discover things, and you can really add some value to your life and get out of some stinking thinking. And there's so much content in there that if you do need help after you joined, reach out to me and I can point you in some directions that maybe will accelerate your growth as evolving into that higher self that you desire. And some of the things I wanted to mention today also is that I will be starting transitioning the Facebook group over to the school group and be posting in there more regularly. We may not be doing any more than the live videos every week, but there are also some videos in there, especially like the introduction video that I will be changing hopefully today. Get to that today and changing, updating, because this was last April when I started this, and then I left it go for a while, and then I'm back again. So feel that momentum coming, and the people coming into the group are just amazing. And want to hear back on any wins that people have. Share them in the group, just as in with Scott's group. If you're in Scott's group, there's wins shared all the time. People are realizing, things are coming to them, just as simple as, the next day, the quickly as the next day. It's just in our mindset and how we think and how we react, and getting in alignment with your higher self. And I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you here again next week, Friday, 12:30 Central Time. Take care.